Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the yard. It's Dave here again. I know I haven't posted in a while, but there's been a lot going on, and like honestly, the OP 4.5 format was good, but like I didn't feel like it was worth talking about, to be honest. So here we are, start of OP05. A lot of stuff has changed in the card game. We got a lot of really cool new leaders. But at the start of every new format, we do need to do a little tier list. So I am going to go ahead and do that. This is unscripted. I'm just going to go through. I have thoughts on all these leaders. A lot of these leaders like haven't really moved that much, and then just like some of the the presence of new leaders, of course, will always shift the game. And just like reasonings for things, but there are of course going to be some leaders that we will not agree on, and that's okay. I'm just going to be talking about my process and like where I think these decks go. So from bottom to top, funsies, like you probably shouldn't play this deck unless you're literally just trying to have a good time. Even then, like you might not win, but you will probably have fun. This don't unless category, right above funsies. Don't play it unless you just really want to. There are going to be a lot of really cool decks in this one, to be honest. See you at the winner box. Like these are decks that you could easily take to a winner box in an event, be just fine. Probably wouldn't do too well in the main event, but you could try it. Doesn't matter. See you at the borderline good. These decks are the decks that are like just like almost there, but they got like kind of pushed out of their A tier status or like higher echelon status because of other decks and just like other cards that came out. All right, it's good. These decks are good. Like play them. They could also do well at an event. And super good. These are decks that I anticipate are going to be like winning a bunch. Just because they're going to be like a good number of decks in this category. My word is not law by any means, so these decks may not actually do super duper good, but I think like objectively on paper they are really good decks. Doffy stays at the Winnabox tier. He hasn't changed at all, and he's gotten like a couple new cards, but like his gimmick is still the same. I don't think you should play this deck really unless you are just a big Doflamingo fan, and even then there's green purple Doffy that we're going to talk about later, which is just better. Blurple Kaido, yeah, he got new tools, but like that's not enough to warrant him being a like viable deck. I think he's just got a lot of cards, and a lot of those cards are good. Like the new ulti is very, very good. Actually, you know what? We're gonna put him in the win box tier because I just thought about that new ulti, and that new ulti is absolutely insane. So yeah, we'll put him in the win box tier. Yerpal Croc, I have a soft spot for this deck, and I think in my previous video for OP04, I had it at B tier. I think there are just too many decks that do too many good things. Now, granted, actually, thinking about it now, because again, I film unscripted, the new kid could make this deck very, very good. So I'm going to put this at the, like, it's not going to let me replace the Doffy. Oh, nope. There we go. I'm going to put it at the top of See You the Window Box tier because we're going to talk a lot about that purple kid. That 7-drop kid is absolutely insane from ST10. Like, it pushes a lot of decks just like boop, right over the threshold. Isho, probably shouldn't play it unless there are just other leaders that play green cards better, and there are other leaders that play the black cards better. Like, it's an unfortunate truth because the leader is very, very cool, and I had high hopes for it. Law, the menace of OPO 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't think it's in the super good tier anymore, but I do think it is still a very, very good deck. This deck has proven time and time again across the 4 formats, 4.5 formats that we've had it, that it doesn't matter how much removal we have for this deck. It just has enough searchers and enough cheap drops to be able to refill the board and then keep the value engine going. The more and more of these removal tools that come out, the worse this deck gets. But again, it's just proven time and time again that it's resilient when it comes to rebuilding his board and rebuilding his resources. So I think it being an A tier is just fine. There's still going to be people that play this deck. I'm probably going to play this deck a little bit. The deck list hasn't really changed that much. There might be a couple new tools, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mono Green Odin. The fact that the 10-drop Doflamingo exists puts most green decks in this D tier. Like by default, just because that card is insane. But yeah, this one just we're getting a lot of cool Wano cards in the future. So in OP06, this might sneak up to win a box tier, but like when OP06 comes out, there's just a new, or sorry, not OP06. When the extra bot comes out, there's just that new the new Odin leader that's absolutely insane. We won't talk about him in this video, but just know he's absolutely cracked. Blurple Crocodile, we'll put it above Odin. Actually, we'll put it above Isho. Fine, just because again, like it's a blue multicolor leader, so it gets the ulti, and I think that ulti is absolutely insane. King, mono purple. Like talking about individual cards, purple's gotten a lot of really good support, but I don't think the support works for King because most of it is Don minus support, and King likes to have 10 Don, so like he's not really that great. Newgate, we're gonna throw him straight up there, back to where he was originally. With the in 4.5, he was probably still a like borderline good or A tier leader, but like now that the bans are lifted, he's back to being close to the top. He's a very, very good deck. And do I think he's the best deck in the format? No. Do I think he's damn near close? Absolutely. Like, and as far as consistency goes, and like how many people like playing him out here in the West, like he's going to get results, and he's going to be a very good leader. So yeah, Garp. Yeah, you go here still. You're a red leader, so like by default, you get to be pretty good. But again, he didn't get any new tools to make him better. So that's his placement there. Kinemon, he's gonna be our first B tier leader. Again, green, and like he does something good, and like the Wano characters are very good. But again, once the new Odin comes out for the extra set, this guy is just gonna kind of fall off as a Wano leader because like I don't think there's a better option for Wano leaders than the Odin that's coming out. Sanji, I again adore this leader, but like there are just too many leaders that do his thing better. Like most of the decks that play a film engine, which is what you want to do with him, just do it better. And it's really sad to say that, but like it's just kind of the truth. Ivankov, unless you really, really had a chubby for Ivankov when he came out, like you should just not play him. Mayelin, he's probably another win-a-box leader. Purple, like I said, got a lot of new tools. This one benefited more from it than King did. Actually, we're going to put Magellan up here because I think secretly Magellan is going to come out of the woodwork because the interaction with him and the 7-cost kid leader or character is very, very good. So, yeah, we're going to put him there. Zephyr, I've seen, or yeah, Z, I've seen a couple of lists running around with him that are like good because purple's got good removal, black's got good removal. Like this is a very good removal deck, but unfortunately, I don't think it's as good as Sakazuki, which is going to be like the new standard for control decks because that deck is insane, and we'll talk about it when we get to him. Smoker as a black leader again. I think most of the other black leaders, other than Sakazuki now, I'm gonna say it out loud, are just mid. So yeah, if you really like the other black characters as leaders, then play them. But like, if you're looking for a control strategy, then you should probably just play Sakazuki. Ace, another one of those where like if you like the character a lot, you should play it. But I think it's better than Doffy. Kuro, talked about Kuro and my buddy on my last video, and I have a soft spot for this deck. So we'll put it up in C tier. But me and my buddy talk about it a lot. The fact that Capone Gangbang exists and the fact that yellow decks are going to be a lot more popular because they got some insane cards makes this leader just worse. So we'll throw him like in the middle-ish, above Doffy again, in the C tier. Arlong, still probably there. I think it's a little worse than Doffy because they functionally do the same thing, but this one just does it from the deck instead of the hand, which on paper is better. But I don't think either of these leaders are going to be in any of these tiers anytime soon. Nami, it's just gotten too much like half decent support, so it's going to be a fine leader. We won't talk about him. Sorry, buddy. Lucci, I left him off of my other video because he wasn't part of the choices, and I commented on that video. But again, I think most of the black leaders are just mid in comparison to Sakazuki. Like this one does something functionally different, like it's a lot more aggressive, but I don't think that's enough to push it. Like here, we'll move this around too. I don't think it's enough to push it into like a better tier, a tier where you should play it outside of like a win a box set. Black Yellow Big Mom, like I said, the yellow deck, the yellow archetype has gotten so many new cards and so many new toys that like all of these leaders are going to be good. Or like almost good, I think. So this one's going to be in the borderline good tier. It's probably going to be the bottom of it, but I think this deck finally has most of the tools it needs to like see play. And I think once people start messing around with it more, and we get like a more defined archetype for this card for this deck, then it'll be a lot better. So yeah, we'll put it there. Katakuri, best yellow leader still. There are a lot of uh, thoughts about Enel being the better yellow leader, and we'll talk about him when we get to him. But in short, I think Katakuri is still the better yellow leader because 10 drop Big Mom. Green purple Doffy. I think this deck hovers in this zone a lot because it's very dependent on the player. Like as a deck, it's good, but it's only as good as the person sitting behind it. And honestly, this deck, much like the deck next to it currently, suffers from losing to itself in that sometimes it just bricks. Like sometimes you'll just open a shit ton of events and no characters, and like you don't really get to play the game with a bunch of events unless you see your characters. So like this deck, it loses to itself, and you have to be very, very good to play it. But like once the engine gets rolling and once you're established and once you stabilize, is damn near undefeatable. Like it's very, very good. Yeah. I despise this deck still. I still think if people know how to play against it, then it loses most of the time. It gets a couple new toys in the forms of like Hattori and John Giant, but other than that, the deck stays exactly the same, and I don't think that can keep up with any of the decks in these two tiers that are going to be in these two tiers. So we'll put it in borderline good tier still. Rebecca, I just think it gets outpaced by almost everything now, especially like things getting new cards. This deck was the control deck of the format, but it just loses to too many things for me to warrant putting it any higher. Red, green, Luffy, there's just not enough support for it, but it does have like one of the better card pools in the game, so we're going to put it here. Red Luffy, again, this is one of those decks that doesn't really see play until the end of a format for whatever reason. So we'll put it in the C tier for now. Kid, again, I think Kid is an insane deck and an insane strategy just because the leader itself is like a truck and a house. So we're going to put that at the top of the A tier, and it'll probably stay at the top of the A tier. The fact that it didn't really get anything new in OP05 is what's holding it back. Yeah, you can argue that some of the green cards would be okay in it, but like most of the green cards are just to help the Don Quixote pirates. So like this leader doesn't really benefit from any of those. All right, so let's see here. We have Blue Croc. There might just be too much for Blue Croc to be able to do anything, TBH. Everything just got too many good tools. Kinemon's gonna get bumped a little bit lower now that I'm thinking about it. But back to Blue Croc. I just think that too many of these decks have too many good things to like take care of this now. Because this is a tempo leader, right? And we just have a straight up better tempo leader now. So, and we'll talk about it when we get it. He's close to the end, I think. So I think he's like just okay now, but I can be swayed depending on like results that we see and stuff like that. I still think he's a good leader, but definitely not as good as it was. Oh, poor Kaido. Poor Kaido. All the purple I'm going to say this out loud. All the purple decks that have come out in the past like 2 sets are what Kaido wanted to be so bad. Like Kaido wanted to be those decks so bad, but it just wasn't there. So yeah, Kaido gets put here. Shanks, still nothing. Sakazuki, still nothing. Yellow Mom. Yellow Mom is weird, right? Because it's a good leader on paper. Like on paper, it's an insane leader. Is definitely the more control of the yellow decks that are out, but like, oh man, I want to put this higher. It just doesn't see the results that the other yellow decks do. So I can't like justifiably put it any higher. Luffy, he's gonna go with all the other black leaders. Let's see. Oh, I got a scroll. You guys are gonna see some scroll in action. We only have a few leaders left though. Yamato. Let's see. I think Yamato is still better than these other leaders. I don't know if she's as good as Lin because this leader gets to play the 10-drop Big Mom, which is one of the best yellow Uh, one of the best yellow card in the game. So actually, you know what? Because of that fact, we are going to bump her higher in the B tier. Vivi, sorry girl. Zoro, Zoro's weird. Because Zoro is good. Zoro is very very good. Uh, I don't know if it's quite better than Law, but I do think it's still very good, especially with the red limitations gone. Will it be this S tier threat that it was before? I don't quite think so, but it's very good. Uta, sorry, the order for the funsies category does not matter. Just gonna say that out loud. It does not matter. Sabo, we're on to new leaders now. I think Sabo is very very good. There's a lot of territory for him to cover and a lot of ground to cover. And I think that the Rev Army cars, particularly Karasu, with this guy are very, very good. I'm going to put him like right here for now, just because like he suffers the same fate as Garp in that his color combination doesn't really work, but he's trying to do a different thing than Garp does. Like you're trying to go really tall with this guy so you can keep your stuff alive, which Garp is still like kind of trying to remove stuff. This guy is just trying to protect your dudes. So we'll see how he ends up. I think he's very, very good though. Bello Betty, I think Bello Betty is insane. I'm going to make another video on the decks that I'm going to be playing this format, and this is one of them. Uh, but she suffers the same problem as this one and the same problem as this one in that she loses to herself. This is very much so a deck where you show your opponent your hand. If they can play out of it, then they win. If they don't, then you just literally get to steamroll them. Games go by very quickly. It's a very, very good deck, but it's also solved already, unfortunately. So we'll talk about Betty in her own video. This is actually another leader that I'm going to be playing, but and I'm going to be very real with this leader. I think it's a like, don't play this leader unless you really want to, which I do. I think there are ways to make this Rosinante leader good. He's the first blocker leader we've ever gotten, which like on paper seems like mediocre at best, but the fact that you get to protect your sugar and the fact that you get to protect your searcher on the in the early turns of the game really means a lot. And then if you get to the late parts of the game, then that's where you really get to shine in protecting like things that you need to. So like if somebody tries to overcommit to kill your 10 drop, then you get to protect it, so on and so forth. I think this leader is very, very good, and we just haven't like gotten enough support, and we haven't experimented enough with his leader yet. But for now, I will be realistic in that he is going in this D tier. Sakazuki, he is the new control deck of the format, like bar none. Control decks in this game historically are very good, but like you have to have a very, very good player behind it. And I just think a lot of people are going to be playing Sakazuki, so the pool is going to be wide. We are a little different over here in the West in that we like to play aggressive decks, but I think this is the control deck that's going to really bring control players out of the woodwork, because this is everything a control deck wants to do. Like you get cycling for free, like as a leader ability, and blue and black together just have removal cards for days. So I think this is the new control deck of the format, and it's going to be very, very good in the right hands. New purple deck of the format. This leader is absolutely insane. Again, purple got so many good tools and good cards that you can't leave it unchecked. I think this leader over here is going to do much better than Sakazuki. But just being able to play your bombs faster than your opponent does is insane. And as I said before, I don't think Whitebeard is his best deck anymore. I think this is going to be one of the best decks for sure. This deck is absolutely insane. Enel, he's going up here as well. I don't think he's good as Katakuri, because Katakuri gets to play the 10 drop and Enel doesn't. But Enel is like what Queen wants to be, in that it doesn't have to play on a few cards. It ends up playing on a few cards, but like you get the addition of playing more yellow cards, which is what this deck wants to do. So I think this leader is going to be very good. These are the two leaders to play if you want to play yellow. And if you play the Sky Island version of this deck, it's actually very, very budget. So like, good stuff. RP Law, I don't know if it's a super. You know what? I'll put it at the very bottom. This is my other. This is my favorite deck of the format. To be honest, it just does so much stuff, and it's so good. And it's so much fun to play. But like these two decks, I reference these two decks a lot when it comes to very skill intensive decks and Sakazuki. It really depends on who's sitting behind it. Like this leader loses to itself, but also you beat yourself as a player if you don't play this deck well. So it rewards good gameplay. It is the best tempo effect I've ever seen on a leader, and that they might ever print, because like it literally gets rid of one of their dudes and plays one of your dudes. Like it's that's tempo in a nutshell. If anybody is asked what tempo is in a card game, this leader. Like your opponent loses something, you gain something. It's insane. Absolutely cracked. I love this leader so much. Red Purple Luffy. This leader like teeters back and forth between these two. Definitely not as good as Purple Luffy in my opinion, but being a 6K leader has its merit. So I'm gonna put it like right here because I do think this leader is very, very strong. This is the only deck that you can play the 10 drop Luffy in. Fun fact. You can try it in this one, but I think it just shines in this one because you can go back up to 4 Dawn the turn that you play it, or sorry, the turn after that you get done doing the 10 drop thing. You get to go back up to 4. So yeah, I think his leader is good. Is very good. It's a 6K leader that ramps. You can't ask for much more than that. And Eustace Kid, definitely the worst of the 3 captains decks. This is probably one that you just don't play unless you really like the character. So I'm going to put it down here. Being in the card pool, having the card pool it does means that you get more leeway, but it's just, God, they could have done more cool things with his leader, but they chose not to. They made these two insane, and they made this one just like mid. So unless he sees results and unless we like find a way to make the Kid Pirates good, he's probably just going to chill down here with the other homies. But yeah, this is my thoughts on OP05. As you can see, like most of it's pretty spread out. Of course, in most tier lists, the C tier has like the most decks, quote unquote. But honestly, One Piece in general is a game where your gameplay rewards you more than like the deck that you're playing, quote unquote. Like, yeah, if you play one of these decks and you're a good player, like you're gonna do well. But like if you're a very good player and you play like any of the decks that are down here, you can also just do really well. So yeah, I think OP05 is going to be a very, very good meta. Very diverse. I don't think it's going to be like mono red dominant like we've seen in the past. Like these 3 guys where there are still very good decks because they've traditionally done well. I don't think it's going to be dominated by them anymore. If in a month or two, like I'm just wrong and these are still the best decks, then whatever. Comment it. Let me know that I was wrong. But I'm going to say now that I think all these other decks have a chance. Like decks now have enough tools to where if the pilot behind it is good, then they can win. So yeah, hope you guys have a really good day and happy testing.